U.S. Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg blasted Republicans attacking the LGBTQ community on Tuesday, saying the reason right-wing lawmakers have decided to target them is they don't want to talk about their radical positions, including opposing President Joe Biden's massive infrastructure law and other accomplishments, like $35 insulin. Appearing on MSNBC, Secretary Buttigieg was asked to weigh in on the Human Rights Campaign's declaration earlier in the day of a national emergency in the U.S. for LGBTQ people. "We have officially declared a state of emergency for LGBTQ+ people in the United States for the first time following an unprecedented and dangerous spike in anti-LGBTQ+ legislative assaults sweeping state houses this year," the organization says on its website. More than 75 anti-LGBTQ+ bills have been signed into law this year alone, more than doubling last year's number, which was previously the worst year on record. HRC also published a detailed chart by state on various issues, including bans on gender-affirming care, sports participation, drag, or support for forced student outing. And while HRC points to the more than 75 bills that have been signed into law this year, the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, says it's currently tracking 491 anti-LGBTQ bills across the country. "Our country is at a very real risk of backsliding on freedom and equality, but that is exactly why we continue to push. There has been extraordinary work that's been done just in this presidency," Buttigieg said, responding to HRC's national emergency declaration. He specifically pointed to the president being able to sign the Respect for Marriage Act. "And if you zoom out to the progress that's been made in the last 10 or 15 years, including the ability of somebody like me to be standing here doing this job, it's extraordinary, and yet, now you see the attacks on the LGBTQ community, especially on the trans community and what they're going through," Buttigieg, who is the first out gay U.S. Cabinet Secretary, told MSNBC's Chris Jansing. "And I think it's being done out of the perception that it is politically convenient to target vulnerable groups. And honestly, I think where it largely comes from is folks who don't want to talk about why they were against the infrastructure loans, building roads and bridges. They don't want to talk about why they were against $35 insulin that the president delivered for Medicare recipients. They don't want to explain why they were for these radical positions that speak to what those people are worried about their everyday lives. So they're focused on targeting some of the people who already do not have a very easy time going about everyday life," he said. "Think about how hard it is to be a teenager to begin with. But think about how hard it is to be a teenager when you realize that you are different, when you're coming to terms with your gender identity or you're coming to terms with realizing that you're gay or lesbian. The last thing you need in your life are politicians trying to score political points by making things worse for you. We're gonna stand together, whether it's Pride or just on any given day, and say no, we're going to expand, not withdraw, the freedoms and equalities we won in this country, and we're going to build on them."